Hi guys, welcome back to Thornton 100 Motorcycles YouTube channel. My name's Jody and today we are starting our Speed Triple 1200 RR project. As you can see, last time I played with it, I blew a tyre up doing a burnout competition and we've actually managed to destroy a lot of the back end, which is a nightmare. However, that's not a problem because we're going to be building this bike into a drift bike. Going to supercharge it for that nice linear power delivery, and we're also going to be stretching out that back end and doing some fancy engineering around that headlight, getting a load of airflow up under the tank, boosting it in a really neat and tidy package as well. So step one is to get the back end out and get this swing arm scanned and into our CAD so we can start redesigning it as well to make it extended one. And then step two is to start designing the supercharged system and all the mountings for that as well. So we're going to crack on with that right now. There's like actual metal stuck in the plastic here. That's absolutely insane. We have to change our burnout tyres. I'm not entertaining using this. This is ridiculous. Look at all this stuff. Like, look at how much we have to deal with here. Imagine trying to find a new home for all of this.
Right, 100 grand, 10-month build.
Right, that's it. Where's my wallet? How do you even get this out? What we've done is removed the swing arm, all the back wheel, the rear brake assembly and all those little bits that go on there. So that swing arm is now going to be sent off and 3D scanned. When we get that back, we'll show you the scan data on that and we can start to reverse engineer it. So obviously we've taken off this engine cover here to see how we can attach a prop to drive the supercharger as well. So once we've got the 3D print of the supercharger on there, we'll be able to start measuring that up and getting that scanned and developing the drive system for the supercharger. So obviously we've had the tank off, we've got this big air box here, which is great, which means when we pull that off, there's going to be loads of space under there, so we can start to look at where we can put things as well. We might 3D scan this air box as well, because that means that will give us loads of air space there. If we can make it in metal, we can boost it and make loads of power with this thing as well. There's loads and loads and loads of electronics in this thing as well. Me and Evan were just talking about whether we should remove that. So what we're going to do now is continue just pulling out blood and guts from the middle of this bike and hopefully start to get the supercharger on and then work out where we can start putting things. Okay, so with the triple configuration, we don't really want to be having intercoolers and everything down here up where the exhaust sits, because there's 3 exhaust pipes we've got to fit through there. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the intercooler and everything up underneath the tank. The problem with having it under there, it doesn't have any airflow. So we created this big 3D printed piece here, and this is essentially a big sort of velocity stack Venturi, which actually grabs the air and spins it as it goes into the front of the bike. Air travels through a tube faster as it spins. So what that does is that clips in there like that, and that will be held, and that's going to replace the headlight. We'll put the headlight up under here as well, so it'll be time in a bit to pull the 3D scanner out and start designing all the wings and all the channels and everything to kind of make that front end look super wide, super mean, and hang the headlights the new headlights up underneath there, so that's going to look really cool. So in the end, we did decide to get rid of all of the standard electronics. There was so much going on, it was absolutely insane, and there was so much weight and so much stuff that we're not going to use. So what we've decided to do is keep the standard battery, keep the standard starter solenoid, and a few other little standard sensors. We're going to build a new Luma around it. We're going to use a Link Fury G4X ECU. We're going to use the ECU Master Power Management Unit and also the ECU Master 5-inch ADU Advanced Display Unit, which we actually seen on WFB1 and some of those parts on WFB2 also. So we know the systems, we know their works. We're going to have completely custom loom on this, which allows us to take out all of the plastic clips and holders and everything under here. So what that means is we'll have loads of space for intercoolers, plenums, and lots of nice little neat wiring things, and with complete mil-spec Deutsche connectors and all that good stuff as well. Get the 3D scanner out now, start scanning some bits as well, and start designing all the internals for all this kind of crazy stuff going on in here too. So we've jumped ahead a little bit here, and we're just going to skip all of the CAD data because that's really not that interesting watching me and the boys sat on laptops. So in my left hand we have a new engine case which has been built off of the scan data, and we can slide this on here like that, and that fits absolutely perfect. And the center of this hole is the center of the crankshaft as well, so it's going to allow us to run a drive spigot out of here and also have a little oil seal in there to make sure we're not leaking our engine oil out of there as well. So that's going to drive the supercharger, this is our temporary supercharger, which is going to sit up here on this. So this is designed to mount off of where the crash protection goes on a standard RR, and this plugs straight in there, bolts from the back, and then you have your pulley and everything on the inside there. So that's going to sit up there like that, and then we've got a little support bracket there and also another little support bracket for our pulley. So really happy with what that looks like. So I'm going to bolt it all up now and make sure everything lines up, and then if we're happy with that, we're good to go, and we can move on to designing all the inlets, all the plenum here as well, and also designing the cooling system for the top end of the bike. Okay, so this is the first fit up of the Roadtrek C30 counterclockwise rotating supercharger. As you can see, we've spun it around. We've got the air inlet this side as well, so we'll put a turbo guard on there, just a mesh, and that will be able to see that turbine in there sucking all the air in as well. So we've got the top mount here, which mounts usually where the crash protection for the top of the engine mounts on the RR, and then we've got the bottom pulley all mounted up as well with the new engine case at the bottom here with all the spigot and the oil seals and everything that you need under there. And then we've also got the belt tensioner there as well, so that's really good. And then we've got our belt here as well, so it's an 800mm belt, 6 ribs wide, so it's nice and neat, nice and tucked in. So this is looking really good. So this was just the first fix. We're gonna have to beef it all up. We're gonna have to grow this out here and add a traction fluid reservoir, and then once we've done that, we can start to make the rest of the kit look pretty. So onwards with the next part, which is scanning all of the inside of the throttle bodies there, scanning the underside of the tank, scanning out everything under here as well, so we can see how much space we've got to add a plenum in there. And then we're going to add another piece in here as well, which is going to be really interesting because we're not actually going to use an air-to-air intercooler on this one. We're going to use a different system to cool those charge temperatures down. So onwards and upwards to the scanning now. Done all of our 3D scanning on the top of the engine here and also within the perimeter of the frame and also underneath the tank, so we can know exactly how much space we've got to work under here. Now, we have actually decided to do away completely with the intercooler, the air-to-air intercooler, because we just don't have enough space. So what we're going to be doing to cool this engine is run a water meth injection system, so you can run water or meth, probably just water for us, because just keep it nice and simple. And that is basically going to spray an injection of water into a big plenum that we've designed for this area, and that's going to keep it cool. So the plenum is going to be mounted to a base plate, which you can see in here. So this base plate is a adapter essentially for the throttle bodies to adapt to this part here that we've designed. So this is the new intercooler, kind of like an intercooler, but it's a Plenum. But we've designed lots of big fins on the Plenum to cool it. So obviously we've got 3 inlets there, which go down into the throttle bodies. We've added additional injectors on each one. So this bike will be running 6 injectors, so 2 for each cylinder. And we've got a nice little mount at the front here, and we've also got this kind of finning at the front here to allow us to sort of cool it. That's going to tie in with what we're going to do with the headlight, and hopefully just flow loads of air through this and over it and help cool this down, as well as water injection in the top. So this bolts in here nice and easy, just like so. Okay, so now we need to get the air from the supercharger all the way around this side, round here, through the frame and over the top. And to do that, we've designed this part, which is a snorkel, and it essentially is going to link to the charge pipe from the supercharger, and it's going to bolt up here, have 2 mounts on the side here, have all sorts of O-ring seals on that as well, and that's just going to take all that air and flow it round and into this big plenum, and then boost it round, add the fuel and into the inlet tracks there. So also on top here we've managed to fin this one as well, so we'll have the air flowing through the front of the frame, through the headlight, up underneath the plenum, cooling it, and up over the top, cooling this charge pipe too. So this bolts on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts underneath the tank there, just nice and simple. So I'm really happy with what these components have turned out like. Overall, they're mostly there. We're going to make a couple of tweaks to the way that the charge pipe goes, and also change the shape there as well, so we'll flow air a little bit better. So that's fine. So once that's all done, we'll start to move on. So we're actually starting to move on a few of the aero bits as well, a bit of styling as well. So we're going to be playing with that, and I'll show you our first mock-ups, which is not going to be this piece of cardboard, when we come round to it as well. So one of the main things on this bike is the cooling. So we're going to use an AEM water injection kit, which has a nozzle like this, which will go in the top of the charge pipe there, and we'll spray a very fine mist of water or methanol, and that will cool down the charge. Because when we go air into the compressor housing here, when you squeeze air and force it through pipes, it heats up. So we need to cool it down. So making sure we can cool it down, we're going to use the water injection here. Now, the water injection system uses a big pump like this, and this is absolutely massive. So this pumps at 200 PSI at 1 gallon per minute as well. So what we need to do is mount this pump up under here as well. So what we'll do is have our big Aero wings. So we'll probably just kind of replicate the supercharger mount on this side to hold this pump, to make sure we've got loads of flow and we don't have any issues with the cooling on this bike, because we definitely don't want to be melting anything. So time to whip this side off, get this CAD'd up as well and mounted on there and 3D printed. Okay guys, so we're nearing the end of the design work that needs to be done on this bike. As you can see on this side now, we've got a similar looking mount, and actually this is holding the water methanol injection pump. Now, this is the pump that's going to suck all of the water out of our custom swing arm that we're going to eventually end up making. It might be out of a tank initially, but we will have reservoir in the swing arm that holds all that water methanol mix, sucks it up, pumps it round into the top of the plenum. What we have to do now is take the engine out to measure with the compression ratio. So the standard compression ratio for this engine is 13.2 to 1. Now, guys, I'm not going to explain compression ratio to you. Go and Google it. It's an interesting thing as well. But basically what we need to do is lower how much pressure is in this cylinder to make sure that we don't suffer with anything such as pre-detonation or knock in our engine here as well. So we're going to pull this engine out now. Going to strip it all the way down to the pistons, scan the pistons, work out how much we need to reduce the compression by, and then we'll get them made in a forged billet to make sure they're nice and strong, along with the new rods, and then we'll balance up the engine, and then this can all go back together with the new plenum and all of the other bits as well that are going to go into this very special build. Okay guys, so as you can see, the engine is back in the bike now. I've made all the modifications I need to make to the standard pistons to lower the compression ratio, and once they're back, I'll tell you all about them as well. Now, also, this engine is back in the bike, but it is empty at the top. As you can see, we have a new conrod designed here, with the blue line being the original conrod, and then the grey one behind it being our new conrod. It's much thicker, much beefier, way stronger, but it weighs the same as well, and I'll tell you more about those when they land with us too. Now, the main reason for putting the engine back in is so we can scan it. So we've had the whole front end of the bike off here. I'm going to have those panels made in carbon fibre along with the rest of the panels on the bike too. Now, we've been able to scan this side, which allows us to make the mount for all of this methanol pump, which we briefly touched on before, and also allows us to create these wings, which are really cool. So these are going to be 3D printed and also on a billet aluminium mount as well. So if you follow me around, guys, to this side of the bike, you see this side is already mounted up, and what it does is it kind of pulls everything together on this side. Got the Rotrex here, which doesn't look like it's hanging out in the middle of it in the sky here as well. So ties everything together, so it looks really cool. So they're going to be made very soon. Hopefully we'll get everything back in metal in the next couple of weeks as well, so you'll be able to see that when it lands as well. Now, as you can see, we have lots of different collectors as well. Now, these are for the titanium exhaust. So version 1, version 2, and this is version 3. So 3-into-1 exhaust is going to sit here, and we have some 3D printed mounts up under here for the manifolds as well. So we come straight down here, collect 3-into-1, out here, up underneath, all in titanium as well, guys. So super light. So I absolutely cannot wait to see this part, how we're going to make it as well, because I'm not sure how we're going to make it, and see how much of a weight saving we can make on this bike with all the new carbon, all the super light billet parts, and all the titanium going onto it as well. Okay guys, so after lots of toing and throwing and experimental 3D prints, we finally come up with our final design for the mount for the Supercharger and the Plenum setup here as well. So on the Plenum here, we have a Plenum which obviously mounts to the inlets on the throttle bodies. We've got the 3 extra fuel injectors, so 6 fuel injectors in total for this bike. We've got this really cool snorkel which basically grabs all of the air over here from the Supercharged compressor housing, pushes it up over the top and into this big Plenum where the air can dissipate, equalise, and then be forced down into the inlet tracks here, along with this nice little gap up here that we've done for the water meth injection as well. So underneath you can see these big fins as well, and they're going to be fed from that headlight tube. It's going to be cooling this whole Plenum down all the way across the top of this snorkel as well, which is really long and thin. That's so we can squeeze it up underneath the tank there too. So we've got the Supercharger mount on this side as well. I think it's going to look really cool. We're going to have this sort of design both sides as well. So one side is going to hold the Supercharger on the right hand side, then we're going to have the water meth injection pump on the left hand side as well. Similar sort of mounts. Now we've got this really cool belt guard, which is kind of reminiscent of the really cool belt guard we did on the WFB2 as well, guys. So you have to check that out. They look fantastic together. So we've got an engine casing here as well as a big reservoir to run the traction fluid for the Supercharger. So the Supercharger is going to sit over here, and we've got to figure out a way to link these two together. But I absolutely cannot wait to see what this is going to look like in metal. It's going to look absolutely insane. Guys, this looks absolutely insane on the bike. All of this aluminium on here looks absolutely fantastic, and it's given us some ideas as well as how we're going to do the colours on this bike as well. So everything fits absolutely perfectly. Everything lines up, which is the benefit of 3D scanning, because we know it's all perfect on the CAD. So we've got the massive Plenum here, which works with the snorkel coming through at the front. Then we've got this squished up charge pipe here as well, which allows us to float lots of air through that tiny little gap underneath the tank that we've got there as well. Just built up and mocked up this this charge pipe here as well, which is taking compressed air, which is going to be sucked in through here, compressed in the compressor housing, and then boosted round into the plenum, and then the water meth injected in the top there as well. So obviously all the 3D printed wings are here, they look fantastic. And we've got this belt guard here, which looks absolutely fantastic as well. Now we've got this big yellow 3D print on here, obviously that's a prototype, that will be in metal soon enough as well. So it's a really cool looking bit of kit, and actually a really neat kit, and something that you can see working in a complete unison all together. The way that the air is sucked in and compressed in this housing here, pushed through here, how we inject it into the plenum, inject fuel and where we inject it as well. To see it all from one side in such a simplified form is absolutely fantastic as well, and I'm really happy with the results. So we've got lots more coming on this build, titanium exhaust, carbon wheels, extended swing arms design as well, so really excited to get on to the next few parts of this build.
So we've had our heads down on this supercharged RR build, and we've done loads and loads of stuff in the background. As you can see, we have wires everywhere now, and this means that the wiring loom is fully complete on this bike. So big shout out to Matt at Level Motorsport for helping us out. So we've had a special delivery this morning, which allows us to move this project right far forward now and close to being finished. So we have the standard pistons here, which are cast and not very strong. And we have our new piston here, which is forged and super strong, and also a lower compression than a factory piston as well. So we did all our calculations. As you can see on the bench here, we've got all this crazy maths been going on as well. So we've reduced the compression ratio down to just over 10:1 compression, which is going to be great for boosting this with the supercharger. So to hold all of that boost pressure, we've got a new connecting rod as well. Beautiful bit of kit made out of a very fancy alloy and with our Thornton 100 logo in it as well. So that's the factory rod. As you can see, this one is way stronger, so that's going to be able to hold our engine together and hopefully not sap like we did the WFB one. So what we're going to do now is pull this engine out, and that will allow me to take the head off, get all the barrels off, take the pistons out and replace the rods and the pistons, get the engine balanced up, and then we're going to be able to put that whole thing back together with the new crazy swing arm as well once everything is coated, get all the carbon fibre bodywork on, and this thing is going to look pretty much finished at that point as well. And then all we have to do is a bit of mapping, and then we can go and do some burnouts. So we're making fantastic progress on this build now. We've just had the last parts arrive from the machinist, which is this beautiful bottom crank pulley which drives the supercharger up the top here as well, and the design matches the design on the carbon fibre rotor box wheels, as well as this beautiful belt guard that we've got here as well. So all of this is now machined, fitted, test fitted, and ready to be taken off and sent over to be Cerakoted, and I can't wait to see this all back nicely finished, ready to go back on the bike for the final time.
printed swing arm here. So what we've done is we've taken the standard swing arm, scanned it, and reverse engineered it and grabbed it and lengthened it so we can get the power down on the bike without raising the front wheel too much as well. So with the more water method injection going on the bike, we've managed to make this swing arm completely hollow, and we've managed to squeeze 5 litres out of this here, which will have a cap on the bottom, as you can see, and then we'll be able to remove that cap and then be able to service all of the inside of there as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this all together now, and then we'll see if it fits on the bike, see where the wheel sits as well, and then we can work out where we're going to take our access point for filling up the fluid tank, as well as draining it out the bottom, putting it through the pump and squirting that water meth into the plenum. So glue this together now, see if it all fits. Okay, so we've got the swing arm mounted up into the bike now. There's some obvious design changes that we need to make. For example, the cutout on the wheel here to make sure we've got adjustment all the way through. The rotation on the ellipse here is when we have the chain slightly longer, we wouldn't have a clearance here, so we need to adjust that. We also need to have a little look at the design on this body. I'm not quite happy with how thick this looks and how thin this top part looks. I don't really like these cutouts. It's a difficult trade-off between having this as a reservoir at the moment. Like I say, we've got 5 litres in it, but we might have to bring that down just to get the aesthetic right on this. It's got to look right as well as function too. So we'll make those changes. We might do another print and then we'll get this made up into metal, and then by the time we've done that, we'll be very, very, very close to finishing this build.
You've been blaming me, ooh, yeah, baby, baby. Lately I've been trying, ooh, yeah, baby, baby. You've been blaming me, ooh, yeah, baby, baby. Lately I've been trying, ooh, yeah, baby, baby. You've been blaming me, ooh, yeah, baby, baby. Lately I've been trying, ooh, yeah, baby, baby. You've been blaming me, ooh, yeah, baby, baby. Lately I've been trying. Is it really you?
So here we go, guys, the Thornton 100 Supercharged Speed Triple 1200 RR. This thing looks absolutely incredible. I could not be happier with the aesthetics of this bike. From the slammed front end, the stretched out rear end, this thing just looks absolutely mean. Now, when we first started this project, I wanted to build something using the RR platform, and I actually rode this bike around Donington when I first picked it up out of the crate from Triumph, and I fell in love with the looks of the RR, and I always knew that I wanted to do something with it, but I didn't know that we would build such an incredible machine, and what an absolute monster this bike is. With all of the carbon fiber fairings and the carbon fiber wheels and the titanium exhaust and all of the titanium bolts that hold this thing together, this thing is really shaping up to be a very special bit of kit. And it's really nice to have built this whole thing in-house with the boys here, and I think we've done an absolutely incredible job. Now, the bike is not going to be running in this video, unfortunately, so you're going to have to stay tuned for the next video when we map it and we get it on the dyno, and then we're going to take it up the hill at the Festival of Speed at Goodwood, and I'm going to be going absolutely sideways, shooting flames with loads of smoke coming out the back as well, and I absolutely cannot wait to get back down to Goodwood. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that video, guys. So thank you so much for watching, and make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video of this absolute beast doing everything that we originally intended it to do. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time.